The sun rose slowly over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. On the distant planet of New Eden, the human colony was just waking up. Among the first to stir was little Ava, a bright-eyed girl of 7. She jumped out of bed, excited for another day of adventure. "Mom, can I go play outside?" Ava called out, her voice full of energy. Her mother, Sarah, smiled and nodded. "Of course, sweetie. But remember, stay within sight of the house." Ava ran out, her bare feet touching the soft, alien grass. The air was fresh and clean, filled with the sweet scent of strange flowers. This world was so different from the pictures of Earth she had seen, but it was home. As she played, Ava noticed something odd in the sky, a dark spot that seemed to grow larger by the second. At first, she thought it might be a cloud, but it was moving too fast. Her young mind couldn't understand what she was seeing, but a feeling of unease crept over her. High above the planet, the massive warship of the Galactic Empire dropped out of hyperspace. Its sleek, dark form blocked out the stars as it moved into position. On the bridge, Admiral Zax looked down at the unsuspecting colony with cold, alien eyes. "Sir, we have confirmed that this is an unauthorized human settlement," a junior officer reported. Admiral Zax nodded slowly. "Very well. You may fire when ready." Back on the surface, Ava's mother stepped out of their prefab home, a worried look on her face. The shadow cast by the ship had plunged the entire colony into an eerie twilight. "Ava," she called out, fear creeping into her voice. "Ava, come inside now." Ava turned towards her mother's voice, confusion written across her young face. "Mom, what's happening?" she asked, pointing up at the sky. Before Sarah could answer, the air was filled with a high-pitched whine. The colony's few defenses came to life, automated systems detecting the threat too late. Thin beams of energy shot up from the ground, only to dissipate harmlessly against the Empire's superior shields. Admiral Zax watched the pathetic display without emotion. "Communications, broadcast on all frequencies," he ordered. "To the illegal human settlers of this world, your presence here is a violation of galactic law. The penalty is death. May your gods have mercy on your souls." The message boomed across the colony, causing panic to spread like wildfire. People ran from their homes, screaming and crying. Some tried to reach the few escape pods, while others simply huddled together, paralyzed by fear. Ava stood rooted to the spot, tears streaming down her face. She didn't understand the words, but the fear in everyone's voices terrified her. "Mom," she cried out, finally running towards the house. Sarah rushed forward, arms outstretched to embrace her daughter. But fate had other plans. With a silent command, Admiral Zax unleashed hell upon the colony. Beams of searing energy rained down from the ship, each one powerful enough to vaporize a city block. The ground shook with each impact, great plumes of dirt and debris thrown skyward. Ava saw her mother disappear in a flash of blinding light. The shockwave knocked her off her feet, sending her tiny body tumbling across the once peaceful field. All around her, the world burned. The screams of the colonists were drowned out by the roar of destruction. As quickly as it had begun, the attack was over. Where once stood a thriving human settlement, now there was only a smoking crater. Admiral Zax surveyed the destruction with a sense of grim satisfaction. "Cleansing complete, sir," the weapons officer reported. "No signs of life detected on the surface." Zax nodded. "Excellent. Set a course for the next target. The humans must learn that the galaxy belongs to the Empire." As the massive ship turned away from the devastated planet, a single escape pod streaked away into the darkness of space. Inside, a terrified colonist clutched a data drive containing security footage of the attack. Among the files was a final image of young Ava, her face a mixture of confusion and fear, moments before her death. Little did the Empire know, this single survivor would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of their power. The tale of Ava, The innocent child whose life they had so callously snuffed out would soon ignite a fire of vengeance in the hearts of all humanity. The escape pod hurtled through space, its lone occupant gripping the controls with shaking hands. John, a former communications officer of the New Eden colony, fought to stay conscious as the pod's life support systems struggled to keep up. His mind raced with the horrors he had witnessed, the faces of his friends and neighbors haunting his every thought. After what seemed like an eternity, the pod's sensors detected a human outpost. With the last of its power, it transmitted a distress signal before crash landing on a small moon. A rescue team found John barely alive, clutching a data drive to his chest. Back on Earth, in the bustling headquarters of the United Earth government, alarms blared as the distress signal came through. Admiral Chen, head of Earth's defense forces, rushed to the command center, her face grim. "What's the situation?" she demanded, scanning the screens filled with incoming data. A young officer looked up, his face pale. "Ma'am, we've received a distress signal from the New Eden colony. It's gone. Completely destroyed." Chen's blood ran cold. "Survivors. Only one, Admiral. He's en route to Earth now with critical information." The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, every screen on Earth was filled with the tragic story. Then, the footage from the data drive was released. The world watched in horror as the attack unfolded, culminating in the heart-wrenching image of young Ava's final moments. In homes, offices, and public spaces, people wept openly. Ava's innocent face became a symbol of the brutality they had suffered. Grief quickly turned to anger as the reality of the situation sank in. World leaders convened an emergency session of the Global Council. The chamber was tense, filled with a mix of sorrow and fury. President Martinez of the United Earth government stood at the podium, her voice shaking with emotion. "Today, we face the greatest threat humanity has ever known. The Galactic Empire has shown us their true nature, cruel, merciless, and utterly without regard for innocent life." She paused, her eyes scanning the room. "But they have made a grave mistake. In their arrogance, they believed this act would cow us into submission. Instead, they have awakened a sleeping giant." Cheers erupted from the assembled leaders. Martinez raised her hand for silence. "I propose we initiate Project Vengeance. We will build the most formidable fleet the galaxy has ever seen. We will take the fight to the Empire and make them pay for every life they've taken." The vote was unanimous. As the council adjourned, the real work began. In secret facilities around the globe, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to develop new technologies. Shipyards that had lain dormant for years sprang to life. The entire global economy shifted to a war footing. But it wasn't just the government and military that mobilized. Ordinary citizens, moved by Ava's story, volunteered in droves. Recruitment centers were overwhelmed as millions signed up to join the newly formed Earth Space Force. Among them was Sarah's sister, Emily. She stood in line at a recruitment center, her jaw set with determination. The image of her niece Ava burned in her mind, driving her forward. As she reached the front of the line, the recruiter looked up at her. "Name and reason for enlisting." Emily's voice was steady as she replied, "Emily Chen. I'm here to make sure no more children suffer Ava's fate." The recruiter nodded solemnly. He had heard similar responses all day. "Welcome to the Earth Space Force, Ms. Chen. Together, we'll bring justice to the galaxy." As days turned to weeks, and weeks to months, Earth's transformation continued. The planet buzzed with activity, united in a way it had never been before. In factories, laboratories, and training grounds, humanity prepared for war. Admiral Chen stood at the window of her office, looking out over the massive shipyards, where the first of Earth's new warships were taking shape. Each vessel was a marvel of human ingenuity, bristling with weapons and defenses that would have seemed like science fiction just months ago. She turned to her desk, picking up a framed photo of Ava. It had become common for soldiers and civilians alike to carry her image as a reminder of why they fought. "We're coming," Chen whispered to the picture. "And heaven help the Empire when we do." As night fell over Earth, the planet glowed with the fires of industry and the light of renewed hope. Humanity had been bloodied, but they were far from beaten. The Galactic Empire had no idea of the storm that was brewing. A storm of vengeance, 700,000 warships strong. The harsh buzz of an alarm clock pierced the pre-dawn silence. Dr. Samantha Lee groaned, forcing her eyes open. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality came crashing back. She wasn't in her cozy apartment anymore. This was her new home, a cramped bunk in the underground research facility codenamed Prometheus. Samantha quickly dressed and made her way to the lab. The corridors bustled with activity, even at this early hour. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel rushed about, all driven by a single purpose: to arm Earth for the coming war. As she entered the main laboratory, Samantha's gaze fell on the holographic display dominating the center of the room. It showed their latest creation, a weapon that could potentially turn the tide against the Galactic Empire. "Good morning, Dr. Lee," a deep voice greeted her. It was General Williams, the military liaison for Project Vengeance. "Any progress on the quantum disruptor?" Samantha nodded, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "We've had a breakthrough. The latest simulations show a 200% increase in effectiveness against energy shields. If this holds up in real-world tests, we could potentially disable an Imperial cruiser with a single shot." The general's eyes widened. "That's incredible. Keep up the good work, Doctor. Earth's future may well depend on your team's success." As Samantha dove into her work, similar scenes played out in facilities around the globe. In orbital shipyards, massive warships took shape, each one a testament to human determination and ingenuity. Aboard the half-completed flagship Avenger, Captain Jin Park oversaw the installation of the main weapon systems. He watched as workers in Zerog suits carefully maneuvered a massive cannon into place. "How's it looking, Chief?" Jin asked over the comm. Chief Engineer Maria Rodriguez's voice crackled back. "Looking good, Captain. This baby packs enough punch to crack a small moon. The Imperials won't know what hit them." Jin allowed himself a small smile. "Let's hope so, Chief, for Ava and all the others we lost." Meanwhile, in training facilities across Earth, millions of recruits pushed themselves to their limits. The Earth Space Force was no longer just a dream. It was rapidly becoming a reality. At the North American Training Center, Drill Sergeant Chen barked orders at a group of exhausted recruits. Among them was Emily Chen, Ava's aunt. Despite the grueling regimen, her determination never wavered. "Move it, recruits," Sergeant Chen shouted. "You think the Empire will wait for you to catch your breath? They took everything from us. Now it's our turn to take it all back." Emily gritted her teeth and pushed harder. In her mind, she saw Ava's smiling face, driving her forward. As the day wore on, the frenzy of activity continued unabated. In the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, engineers worked on a secret project, a network of quantum entanglement communicators that would allow Earth's fleet to coordinate across vast distances of space. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, lead scientist on the project, carefully adjusted a delicate array of crystals. "Careful now," she murmured to her team. "If we get this right, our ships will be able to communicate instantly, no matter how far apart they are. It could give us the edge we need." Her assistant, Alex, looked up from his console. "Dr. Tanaka, I think we've done it. The entanglement is stable across all test units." A cheer went up in the underwater lab. It was another small victory in humanity's race against time. As night fell, Admiral Chen stood in the Global Defense Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the progress of Project Vengeance. Ships under construction, weapon tests, troop training. Everything was proceeding at a breakneck pace. Her aide approached with a tablet. "Latest reports, Admiral. We're ahead of schedule on ship production, and the new weapon systems are exceeding all expectations." Chen nodded, a fierce pride swelling in her chest. Excellent. The Empire thinks they've cowed us into submission. Little do they know, they've only ensured their own destruction. She turned to a nearby screen, which displayed an image of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, the Empire continued its reign of terror, unaware of the storm brewing on a small blue planet. "We're coming for you," Chen whispered. "For Ava, for New Eden, for every innocent life you've taken. Humanity will have its vengeance." As Earth slumbered, its factories, laboratories, and training grounds continued their relentless work. In orbit, the skeletal frames of warships glinted in the starlight, silent sentinels heralding humanity's coming retribution. The great preparation was well underway. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would witness the full might of a united Earth, and the Galactic Empire would learn the terrible cost of underestimating humanity. The day had finally arrived. After years of feverish preparation, Earth was ready to unveil its mighty fleet. The skies above every major city on the planet were filled with the awe-inspiring sight of warships, their gleaming hulls catching the sunlight as they moved into formation. In New York, millions gathered in Central Park, their eyes fixed on the sky. Among them was Emily Chen, now Lieutenant Chen of the Earth Space Force. She stood tall in her crisp uniform, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. A hush fell over the crowd as a massive hologram flickered to life above them. President Martinez's face appeared, her expression solemn yet determined. "Citizens of Earth," she began, her voice echoing across the globe. "Today marks a turning point in human history. For too long, we have suffered at the hands of the Galactic Empire. They believed us weak, thought they could crush our spirit. But they were wrong." The camera panned out, revealing the president standing on the bridge of the flagship Avenger. Behind her, through the massive view screen, the Earth's orbital shipyards could be seen, bustling with activity. "Behold," Martinez continued, gesturing to the ships around her, "the fruits of our labor. 700,000 warships, each a marvel of human ingenuity and determination. This is the instrument of our vengeance, the shield that will protect our future." Cheers erupted from the crowds on Earth. In Central Park, Emily felt tears stinging her eyes. She thought of Ava, of the colony on New Eden, of all they had lost. Now, finally, they had the means to strike back. The president's voice cut through the cheers. "But this fleet represents more than just our military might. It is a testament to what humanity can achieve when we stand united. Every ship, every weapon, every advancement was made possible by the collective effort of our global community." In orbit, Admiral Chen watched from the command deck of the Avenger as the massive fleet moved into its final formation. Ships of all sizes and classes took their positions, from nimble fighters to hulking dreadnoughts, each with a role to play in the coming conflict. "Admiral," her aide reported, "all ships report ready for hyperspace jump." Chen nodded, her face a mask of determination. "Very well. Signal the fleet. Operation Retribution begins now." Across the Armada, captains received their final orders. On the bridge of the destroyer Swift Justice, Captain Jin Park addressed his crew. "This is the moment we've trained for," he said, his voice steady. "Remember why we fight. For Earth, for justice, for Ava." As one, the crew responded, "For Ava." Back on Earth, in the underground lab of Project Prometheus, Dr. Samantha Lee watched the launch on a view screen. Her team gathered around her, their faces a mix of pride and anxiety. "Our weapons are on those ships," she murmured. "Let's hope they're enough." In the Atlantic Deep Sea facility, Dr. Yuki Tanaka monitored the quantum entanglement network. "Communication systems all green," she reported to her team. "The fleet will stay connected, no matter how far they travel." As the final preparations were made, a solemn mood settled over the Armada. Each soldier, each crew member, each officer knew the enormity of what they were about to undertake. They carried with them the hopes and dreams of all humanity. President Martinez's voice came over the fleet-wide channel one last time. Brave men and women of Earth, you carry with you not just our weapons and our technology, but our unwavering spirit. The road ahead will be hard, but remember, we fight not just for vengeance, but for a future where our children can live without fear. She paused, her voice thick with emotion. Go forth, and let the galaxy know the strength of humanity. May fortune favor the bold. With that final benediction, Admiral Chen gave the order. All ships, engage hyperdrives. Across the fleet, engines flared to life. The fabric of space itself seemed to ripple as 700,000 ships, in perfect synchronization, leaped into the swirling vortex of hyperspace. On Earth, billions watched in awe as the mighty armada vanished in a flash of light. Emily Chen, standing in Central Park, raised her hand in a salute. "Godspeed," she whispered. As the last echoes of the fleet's departure faded, a new chapter in human history began. The war for Earth's future, for justice, for little Ava, had finally begun. In the depths of space, unaware of the reckoning heading their way, the Galactic Empire continued its reign of terror, but their days were numbered. Humanity was coming, 700,000 ships strong, fueled by righteous fury and armed with the most advanced technology Earth had ever produced. The game had changed. The hunted had become the hunters, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The vastness of space was shattered as 700,000 human warships burst out of hyperspace. They arrived near the ruins of New Eden, the colony where it all began. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Avenger, her eyes fixed on the view screen. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "All ships accounted for." "Admiral," her aide responded. "No sign of Imperial forces yet." Chen nodded, her mind racing. They had achieved surprise, but it wouldn't last long. "Deploy scouts. I want to know the moment any Imperial ship shows up." Across the fleet, crews sprang into action. On the Swift Justice, Captain Jin Park directed his team with calm efficiency. "Weapons hot, shields at maximum. Be ready for anything." Hours passed, the tension mounting with each moment. Then suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. "Contact," shouted the sensor officer on the Avenger. Multiple Imperial ships dropping out of hyperspace. Chen's eyes narrowed as she watched the enemy fleet materialize. It was massive, easily matching the human armada in size. At its center was a behemoth of a ship, dwarfing even the largest human vessels. "That must be their flagship," Chen muttered. She keyed the fleet-wide comm. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Prepare to engage." The two fleets faced each other, a moment of eerie calm before the storm. Then, a transmission cut through the silence. Admiral Zax's face appeared on the view screens of every human ship. "Humans," he sneered, his alien features contorting in disgust. "You dare to challenge the might of the Empire. Your species is young and foolish. Surrender now, and we may show mercy." Chen's response was swift and fierce. "We are humanity, and we do not surrender to tyrants or murderers. You killed our people, our children. Now you'll face our justice." With that, she cut the transmission. "All ships," she commanded, her voice ringing with authority, "attack." The space between the fleets erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons and explosions. Human ships, piloted by crews driven by righteous fury, clashed with Imperial vessels in a dance of destruction. On the Swift Justice, Captain Park's crew worked in perfect harmony. "Target their lead cruiser," he ordered. "Fire quantum disruptors." The advanced weapon, fruit of Earth's desperate research, lashed out. It struck the Imperial ship, its shields flickering and failing under the assault. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield. Human ingenuity and determination met Imperial experience and arrogance head-on. In the midst of the chaos, Chen spotted an opportunity. "Squadron Leader Chen," she called, "take your fighters and punch a hole through their left flank. We need to isolate that flagship." Emily Chen, leading a wing of advanced fighters, responded immediately. "Copy that. Admiral." "Wolf Squadron." Follow me." Her fighters darted through the melee, their advanced maneuverability allowing them to dodge enemy fire. They struck hard and fast, clearing a path through the Imperial formation. The battle raged on, losses mounting on both sides. But the humans fought with a fervor that seemed to catch the Imperials off guard. Every crew member, every soldier, carried with them the image of Ava, driving them to fight harder, to push beyond their limits. Admiral Zax, watching from his flagship, felt a flicker of uncertainty for the first time. These humans were proving to be far more formidable than anticipated. As the conflict reached its peak, Chen saw her chance. "All ships," she commanded, "concentrate fire on the Imperial flagship. Let's end this." The entire human fleet turned its firepower on Zax's ship. Under the relentless assault, even its mighty shields began to buckle. In a desperate move, Zax ordered a retreat. "All ships, fall back. We must regroup." As the Imperial fleet began to withdraw, a cheer went up across the human armada. They had won the first battle, but Chen knew the war was far from over. "Let them run," she said, her voice grim but satisfied. "They now know the price of underestimating humanity. And this is just the beginning." The human fleet regrouped, tending to their wounded and repairing what they could. They had drawn first blood, but the road to victory was still long and perilous. Yet, as they looked upon the retreating backs of their enemies, hope burned bright in every human heart. The galaxy would soon learn. Humanity had arrived, and they were a force to be reckoned with. As the main battle raged in space, a small, sleek ship slipped away from the human fleet. On board was an elite team of operatives, handpicked for the most dangerous mission of the war. Their target, the Imperial capital world itself. Lieutenant Emily Chen checked her gear one last time. Around her, 5 other operatives did the same. Each was a specialist in their field. Demolitions, hacking, stealth, and more. Captain Maya Rodriguez, the team leader, addressed her squad. "Remember, our mission is crucial. While the fleet keeps the Empire busy, we strike at their heart. Failure is not an option." The team nodded grimly. They all knew the stakes. Their ship, cloaked with the latest stealth technology, slipped past the Imperial defenses. As they entered the atmosphere of the capital world, gasps of awe escaped even these hardened soldiers. The Imperial capital was a city that sprawled across an entire continent. Towering spires of crystal and metal reached into the clouds. Streets teemed with aliens of 1,000 different species, and at the center of it all stood the Imperial Palace, a structure so vast it seemed to defy the laws of physics. "That's our target," Maya said, pointing to the palace. "Intel suggests the Empire's leadership is gathered there, planning their counterattack." The ship landed in a forgotten corner of the city. As the team disembarked, Emily couldn't help but feel small amidst the alien grandeur. But then she remembered Ava, and her resolve hardened. Moving through the shadows, the team made their way towards the palace. Their path took them through narrow alleys and across dizzying skywalks. At every turn, they had to dodge Imperial patrols and avoid the gaze of floating security drones. At last, they reached the base of the palace. Up close, it seemed even more impossible. A mountain of technology and alien architecture. "How do we get in?" whispered Zach, the team's tech expert. Maya grinned. "We don't. We go under." She nodded to Lena, their demolitions expert. Lena placed a device on the ground. With a soft whine, it activated, creating a localized gravity distortion. The street beneath their feet softened and parted like water. One by one, they slipped into the hole, finding themselves in ancient maintenance tunnels beneath the palace. As they navigated the labyrinth of tunnels, Zach worked his magic on the Imperial systems. Security cameras looped, doors unlocked, and alarms were silenced. They emerged in the lower levels of the palace. Here, they encountered their first real resistance, a squad of Imperial guards. The fight was brief and silent. human ingenuity and training proving superior to Imperial arrogance. Floor by floor, they fought their way up. Emily's marksmanship, honed by years of training and driven by thoughts of vengeance, proved lethal. Maya's leadership kept them focused and moving. Finally, they reached the heart of the palace, the Imperial War Room. Inside, they could hear voices raised in argument. "The humans are stronger than we thought," came a voice they recognized as Admiral Zack's. "Impossible," thundered another voice. "They are primitives, nothing more." Maya nodded to her team. They burst into the room, weapons ready. The Imperial leaders, a collection of aliens of various species, turned in shock. Admiral Zax reached for a weapon, but Emily was faster. A well-placed shot sent him crumpling to the ground. "In the name of Earth and all human colonies," Maya declared, her voice steady, "you are under arrest for crimes against humanity." The Imperial leaders, caught off guard and cut off from their forces, had no choice but to surrender. As Emily secured the prisoners, she felt a mix of emotions. Triumph, yes, but also a deep sadness. All this death, all this destruction, because the Empire had underestimated humanity's resolve. Maya was already on the comm to the fleet. "Admiral Chen, this is Captain Rodriguez. Objective secured. The Imperial leadership is in custody." Chen's voice came back, tight with emotion. "Well done, Captain. You've just turned the tide of this war." As the team waited for extraction, Emily looked out a window at the alien city. The Empire had thought them weak, had thought they could crush humanity's spirit. They had been wrong. In the face of tragedy, humanity had not cowered. They had risen, united, and now stood poised to reshape the galaxy. And it had all started with one child, Ava, whose memory would forever be honored in the annals of human history. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Empire had fallen. Human forces, led by Admiral Chen, had emerged victorious in the final battle over the Imperial capital world. The capture of the Imperial leadership by Captain Rodriguez's team had been the turning point, throwing the enemy into disarray. As the dust settled, the enormity of what humanity had achieved began to sink in. They had gone from a species on the brink of extinction to the dominant force in the galaxy in a matter of years. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every city. People poured into the streets, cheering, crying, and embracing one another. The nightmare was over. They had won. Admiral Chen stood before the United Earth government, delivering her final report. "The last pockets of Imperial resistance have been eliminated," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "The galaxy is secure." President Martinez nodded solemnly. "And what of the Imperial leaders?" "They will stand trial for their crimes," Chen replied. "We will show them the justice they denied us." In the following weeks, the galaxy watched as the architects of so much suffering faced judgment. The trial was broadcast to every corner of known space. Admiral Zax and his cohorts, once so proud and arrogant, now looked small and pitiful in the dock. As the verdict was read out, guilty on all counts, Emily Chen sat in the audience, tears streaming down her face. She thought of Ava, of the colony on New Eden, of all those who had not lived to see this day. "We did it," she whispered. "We got justice for you." But even as humanity celebrated its victory, new challenges arose. They now found themselves responsible for maintaining peace in a vast and complex galaxy. Many alien races, long oppressed by the Empire, looked to Earth for leadership and protection. In response, the United Earth government announced the formation of the Galactic Confederation, a new alliance of free worlds, with Earth at its center. President Martinez, in a historic address, laid out her vision for the future. "We have won a great victory," she declared, "but our work is not done. We must now build a galaxy where the horrors of the past can never be repeated, where every sentient being, regardless of their planet of origin, can live in peace and dignity." The task was monumental, but humanity rose to the challenge with the same determination that had carried them through the war. Teams of diplomats, scientists, and peacekeepers spread out across the stars, helping to rebuild shattered worlds and forge new alliances. On New Eden, now a sacred site for all of humanity, construction began on a grand memorial. At its center stood a statue of Ava, the little girl whose tragic death had sparked a revolution. Admiral Chen, now retired, visited the memorial on the day of its completion. As she laid a wreath at the base of the statue, she reflected on the long journey that had brought them here. "We came so close to the brink," she mused to Captain Rodriguez, who stood beside her. "The Empire nearly wiped us out, but they underestimated the strength of the human spirit." Rodriguez nodded. "They thought killing a child would break us. Instead, it united us like never before." As they turned to leave, they saw a group of alien children, species that had once been bitter enemies under Imperial rule, playing together in the shadow of the memorial. It was a powerful symbol of the new era they had ushered in. Back on Earth, in a small classroom, a young teacher named Sarah, Emily's sister and Ava's mother, stood before her students. On the wall behind her was a picture of the galaxy, with Earth prominently marked. "Today," she said, her voice filled with pride and hope, "we're going to learn about the Great Galactic War and how humanity went from a small, vulnerable species to the guardians of peace in the galaxy." A little girl in the front row raised her hand. "Miss, is it true that it all started because of one little girl?" Sarah smiled, her eyes misting slightly. "Yes, it is. Her name was Ava, and her story changed the course of history." As Sarah began the lesson, she knew that Ava's legacy would live on, inspiring generations to come. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever, ready to lead the galaxy into a brighter future. The stars, once a source of terror, now beckoned with endless possibilities. And humanity, tempered by hardship and driven by an unyielding spirit, was ready to answer that call.